guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be decorating some shelves for Halloween. May be confused because, as you can see, these shelves are already decorated. Yes, they are. I decided not to film me decorating the big shelves this year because I didn't do anything super different from other years other than add in a little bit more red. And you will see a full tour of this in my Halloween house tour, so stay tuned for that in a couple of weeks. If you're new to my channel and you've never seen that before, I will link last year's decorating my bookshelves for Halloween video. It's really fun. I have like a time lapse of me decorating. I give you tips and tricks for decorating your own shelves. I turn them backwards every year because I just think it looks more atmospheric, but it's a lot of freaking work and I just wanted to kind of get it done this year. However, I decided to do a video basically giving you a full tour of my Halloween TBR shelf. So normally I have a bunch of my like spookier reads, Halloween themed reads on one of these shelves, and I always take them out every year and I put them on the bookshelf in my bedroom, front facing, because those are the ones I'm going to be reading, and they're all the things that I think are good for fall and Halloween time. I filmed the middle portion of that video where I go through and I decorate and I show you guys all the books a week ago before I had done these. I'm just coming in now to kind of introduce you to the video. Basically, this video is going to be me completely overhauling that shelf in the bedroom. I did a mermaid bookshelf tour that you guys seem to really love this summer, so I took all of that off and we redid it for Halloween time. So you guys will get to see every single book that I considered good for fall Halloween TBR. Everything that I haven't read, witchy, all that stuff is going to be on these shelves. So if that sounds good, just keep watching and we'll get started. Okay, so this is the shelf we're going to be changing over. It's got all of my mermaid stuff in it right now. It's a little bit disheveled from when I finished it earlier. I'll link the video for when I organized this for summer. I'm not going to film taking all this down because we're taking pretty much everything down. The only thing that I might leave out is like, this is like a witchy book where the second one in the series has some mermaid stuff, or it might have some like piratey books that might have like a spooky element to them. Anything like that I'm going to leave off, but everything else is going to go in a box until 2025. So we're going to go get started with this part. Okay, all the shelves are empty. We're gonna start with this middle shelf. I don't really think that I have a game plan. Like I thought at first I was gonna do like one shelf for witches and one for vampires. I may separate out some things, but I think for the most part we're just gonna knock this out. I'll show you all the books. I haven't read any of them. They're all TBR books. I'm not gonna go over descriptions too much, but I will let you know whether they're a part of a series, and we'll see how much we can fill up. This is the Half Bad trilogy. This is a young adult trilogy that involves witches. I actually started this book a few years ago and I stopped reading it, not because I wasn't liking it. I can't remember why, but I definitely need to get back to it and to get the third book if I like it. Mistwood by Leah Cypress. I don't know anything about this except for that it's young adult and it has something to do with werewolves, which I don't have a ton of werewolf books, so I'm always looking for some. I also am going to fill these up, but I'm going to adjust some things when I get the Halloween decor out and I start kind of adding the knickknacks and things, which will come a little bit later. So if things look a little bit different in the end, that's why. All right, we have the Raven Boys Quartet. This is one I really need to finish. I read the first book a few years ago, really enjoyed it. So beloved in the young adult community, especially on BookTube. So you guys need to pressure me to finish this one. Sometimes I put off these really popular ones. There is a lot going on here. There's like a ragtag team of characters. There's a prophecy, there's some witchiness, there's some forest vibes. This one's still going on the TBR shelf. We have Clackety. This is an adorable looking middle grade novel, and I know it has witchy vibe. It has a super cute cover. Spellbook of Lost and Found by Moira Fowley Doyle. This is a young adult standalone witchy novel. Seriously Wicked, Seriously Shifted, and Seriously Hexed. How cute are these? This is a young adult witchy trilogy. I think it's gonna read a little bit more like a middle grade, but it's definitely one I want to check out. The Lying Woods by Ashley Elston. I honestly don't know anything about this. I love that there's a tree on the cover. It could be a thriller, it could be a mystery, it could be paranormal. I don't know, but I know that it's young adult. Forgive my ring light, but this is Steadfast by Claudia Gray. This again is part of a young adult witchy trilogy. An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. This is a magic fantasy adult standalone, I believe, that I've heard is absolutely phenomenal. Blythewood and Hawthorne by Carol Goodman. Again, another young adult trilogy. I believe this is like dark academia or paranormal school, and I've heard really great things about it. It just looks so fun. A semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Crystal Sutherland. I have come come to really like Crystal Sutherland's writing style. She did House of Hollow. I don't entirely remember what this one is about, but it's really quirky. It's got an interesting cast of characters, and I definitely want to read this fall. The Beast is an Animal by Petronelle Van Arsdale. I loved her other book, The Cold is in Her Bones. It kind of took me by surprise. I don't know, again, what this is about, except for that there's like a beast in the woods, and the cover is stunning. Unchosen by Catherine Blair. This one you saw on the Mermaid bookshelf tour, but this is like a darker mermaid or ocean themed book. I believe there's monsters and maybe murder even, so I'm leaving it on the fall shelf. Claire de Lune by Christine Johnson. This is again another young adult werewolf novel. City of Time and Magic by Paula Braxton. This is book 4 in her adult witchy series called the Found Thing series. I don't think I have any of the other ones, but I just keep slowly collecting them. The Golden Spoon by Jess Maxwell. I wanted to read this for Randomathon when we did the food theme, but this is like the Great British Bake Off meets a murder mystery, and it sounds great. It's an adult standalone. I believe it's like a thriller mystery. Black Witch by Laurie Forrest. This is part of a young adult series. I don't know if it's a trilogy or a quartet. I've heard awesome things. I know that it's witchy and that it's great, and that's all I know. All right, that's it for this shelf. We're gonna go down to the one below it, and I think I am gonna make that like the vampire shelf. The Beautiful, the Damned, and the Righteous. Forgive my sticker, I haven't taken it off yet. This is the first 3 in Renee Audier's young adult quartet. It's rumored to be about vampires, but I heard there aren't really any vampires in the first book, so I'm not sure what's going on, but we're gonna put it on this shelf. I do not have the last book in this series. Claudia Gray's Evernight series. I believe this is vampire. It has a school setting. I really love Claudia Gray. She has a lot of spooky books. This is a full 5-book series, so we may or may not start this year. In Every Generation by Kendar Blake. I believe this is like a continuation of Buffy or a retelling. I never watched Buffy, but we're gonna try it, and I have another one here as well. Slayer by Kirsten White is also a Buffy retelling or reimagining. This is the first in the series. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in case those of you that aren't familiar. The Discovery of Witches series. I do have the 3rd book, but I have not hauled it yet, so it's not going on this shelf yet. But this is the 1st, 2nd, and 4th book in this adult fantasy. There's like a witchy woman and she falls in love with a vampire. I have started this book so many times, and then I always get caught up in spooky season and I never finish it, but I so want to, and I want to watch the show, so I just need to get on it. A People's History of the Vampire Uprising. This is an adult book, kind of like World War Z, but for vampires, but I do not know. That's just my guess. And then of course Midnight Sun, which I have not read yet, by Stephanie Meyer. I honestly haven't read this just because of how long it is, but I've heard that it's fabulous. The Serpent and Dove series by Shelby Moore. Another trilogy I need to get to. I don't have the final book. This, I believe, is a witch falls in love with a vampire, or there might just be a vampire in here. I know it's a romance. I know it's young adults. I don't think it's smutty or steamy, but it's angsty. So I've heard it's amazing and I need to get on it. This is all the vampire books that I can find right now. I feel like I have way more than this, and I know I have some that I need to haul that I haven't hauled yet because I have a big haul coming. So we're just going to leave this a little empty for now and move on to the one below it. Willowbrook and Thornhill. This is part of the Hemlock young adult trilogy. I think we have like a paranormal school, but I'm not entirely sure. This is by Kathleen Peacock, and I don't have the first one. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea duology. I've heard this is absolutely amazing. This is by April Genevieve Tuchok. Again, we have like an island town or some kind of ocean element, but I've heard it's got like darker tones that are good for fall. Worlds of Ink and Shadow by Lena Coakley. This has something to do with the Bronte women, and I think there's like a mystery as well. I don't know if it's a retelling or if it just features them, but I really want to read it. Man-Made Boy by John Scavron. This is a Frankenstein retelling. I think it's got more of a modern twist to it. Again, I'm not sure, but I love Frankenstein retellings. Give the Dark My Love and Bid My Soul Farewell by Beth Revis. This is a young adult duology. I believe our main character is like a reaper, or she works with death. It has some kind of really cool premise, and I've been wanting to get to it for a while. Next up, we're getting into a little bit more mystery thrillers. So this is One of Us is Lying and One of Us is Next. This is a young adult duology set in high school where I believe one of the friend group has killed the other one, and they're kind of backtracking to find out who did it. Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert. Kind of a similar thing. I believe it's set in high school. I believe it's like a murder mystery. There might be a game element. Not sure. Haunt Me by Liz Kessler. Again, another murder mystery. Another young adult. I'm assuming this one has some kind of ghosts or supernatural element. Mortal Danger by Anne Aguirre. I can't remember what this one is about, but I know it's something a little bit more cool and unique. It might be dystopian, but I wouldn't take my word for it. Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is part of a young adult series. I only have the first book. Again, another murder mystery mystery, dark academia set at a school. People Like Us by Dana Mel. Again, kind of the same thing as the other ones, a thriller murder mystery. This one's got a prep school element to it, and I've heard good things. In the Age of Witches by Louise Morgan, another adult witchy series that I've heard great things about. The Devourers by Indra Das. This one is more witchy and has something to do with magic. I think this one is young adult, and it just has like a really unique premise, and I love this cover. Another young adult murder mystery, Shallow Graves. I believe this has like a small town setting, maybe a little bit more nature elements. Illusions of Fate by Kirsten White. Another young adult kind of witchy novel. Behold the Bones by Natalie C. Parker. This is second in a duology, I believe, and it's got something to do with like the forest. I don't know if there's like creatures, but it looks really cool. The Killing Jar by Jennifer Bosworth. This was another one that had a really cool premise that of course I can't remember, but it is, I believe, a standalone and another young adult. Okay, now we're on the bottom shelf, so we've got a little bit more of a funky angle, so bear with me. The Dark Days Club trilogy. This is another young adult trilogy, but this one is kind of gothic Victorian, and I believe they're like demon or monster hunters, and it sounds really good. There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. This one has a little bit of kind of like a superhero element and some magicians as well, but I believe there's also like some darker tones in here. Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I believe this is a spooky young adult retelling of Rebecca, which I have not read yet, but I've heard this is amazing. Shadowlands by Kate Bryan. Again, I think another like murder mystery. Another Little Piece by Kate Carius Quinn. All I know about this one is that this girl wakes up alone in the woods, naked and covered in blood. And I don't think it's like too scary, but we're gonna try it because I've heard that it's phenomenal. My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This is an adult thriller about a husband and wife in the suburbs that decide that they want to be serial killers and kind of mix things up. These Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly. Again, just another like spooky adult book that's probably a murder mystery. Our Lady of Mysterious Ailments by T.L. Huchu. This is part of a series. I believe it's set in like a magical library, and it sounds amazing, and I believe it's adult. Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. Again, part of a young adult witchy trilogy. The Bone Charmer by Brianna Shield. This is a fantasy series that has to do with witches and bone magic, and it's a duology. Esther by Lori Lico Albanese. This is a reimagining of The Scarlet Letter following the heroine of that story. Grave Maiden and War Maidens. Again, these covers are really cool. I know it has some kind of darker element to it. It's a young adult duology. The Grave Mercy trilogy by Robin Lefevre. This is a fantasy trilogy. I know it has to do with nuns. I think they might be Reaper nuns. I'm not sure, but I've wanted to try it for a while. Unburied Carol by Josh Mallerman. I really liked a novella that I read from Josh Mallerman last year. I'm a little iffy about whether his books are going to be too dark for me, but this one sounded cool. It's got kind of like a Western vibe. There's a mystery involved, and it's adult. Shift by Terry Smith Reddy. Again, either witches or werewolves or vampires, and it's part of a young adult trilogy. Teeth in the Mist by Dawn Katurgic. I really love Dawn Katurgic's writing style. Her books are very dark and sometimes heavy, but her writing style is so cool, and a lot of times the books have extra like media and elements in them, and so do her audios. So even though it's much like darker in the way that I don't like, for some reason hers still work for me. World War Z by Max Brooks. This is the oral history of the zombie war. So this is all told in interview format, and I still have not read this one, and this is adult. Zombies and Unicorns. This is a young adult anthology that I've been wanting to read for a while. I don't know if it's going to be spooky, but it does have some zombie stories in it, and it's supposed to be very fun. Monstrous Affections, another anthology. Supposed to be like monstrous, possibly some retellings as well. Foretold, Histories of Prophecy and Prediction. Again, kind of just a magical anthology. Slasher Boys and Monster Girls, another anthology. This one has like darker, spookier ones. I've started this one, not loving it so far, but we're gonna finish it this spooky season. Rags and Bones, New Twists on Timeless Tales, another anthology. I believe this one's more retellings, but we're gonna put it over here anyway. Lock and Key, The Initiation by Ridley Pearson. This is part of the Lock and Key series. First two books in the Nightmare Affair series by Mindy Arnett. I've heard this one is just really fun. There's like a nightmare school, there's different creatures, and this is young adult. Dearly Departed by Leah Habel. This, I believe, is set in the future, but has like a gothic Victorian vibe and has zombies. I believe it's the first and a young adult series. Reign of the Fallen and Song of the Dead by Sarah Glenn Marsh. This is part of a fantasy zombie series. I've heard it's very good, and I really like her other book that I've read. And I think that's all we're going to do on this shelf for right now. All right, 2 shelves left, so we're going a little high. We're going to start with some middle grade on this one. Nooks and Crannies by Jessica Lawson. I believe this is a cute little middle grade murder mystery with like a whole ragtag family. The Ghosts of Tupelo Landing by Sheila Turnage. Again, another like haunted murder mystery spooky book. The Skeleton Tree by Kim Vittrell. I got this one because it looks like it has something to do with growing a skeleton tree and gardening, which sounds adorable. Hopefully I have these in the right order, and sorry about all my light. This is the Serafina series, and I have the first 4. It's a middle grade series. I believe Serafina solves mysteries in this cool like haunted hotel. The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This is the start of a series, and I believe they're siblings that solve mysteries. Plackety by Laura Zimpf. This just looks so adorable. I don't really know anything about it except for that it's witchy and it looks so cute. Bone Jack by Sarah Crow. Again, another kind of foresty, mysterious middle grade read. The Comet Rising by Marcy K. Connolly. I really like Marcy K. Connolly's middle grade books. This is the second in a duology. I really liked the first one. I need to get to this next one. The first one I think is Shadow Weaver, which is about a girl that has this shadow friend that gets into mischief. City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. I believe this is part of a trilogy. It's about a girl whose parents see ghosts. I believe they film like a haunted TV show around it. One of the only Victoria Schwab series I haven't read. Blue Ballet, Out of the Wild Night. This is a ghost story. I've heard this one's definitely on the spooky side for middle grade, and it sounds super cute. Monsterland by James Crowley. I got this one because the cover looks amazing, and I found it for $1.50 on Book Outlet. Furthermore in Witchwood by Tahara Mafi. Again, not entirely sure what these are about, but I love Tahara Mafi, and I'm excited to check out her middle grade. The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. I've heard this is an epic middle grade wizard fantasy series. And then the last of the middle grade I don't have a dust jacket for is Paranorman, which I did not know was a book, so I need to check that out because I really like the movie. Book of the Night by Holly Black. This is her first adult fantasy novel, and I love Holly Black. I have heard mixed reviews about this. I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I think there is some kind of dark magic, and it's adult. City of Dusk by Tara Sim. I just assume this is dark because it has a skeleton on it. Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. Again, I just think this is witchy. The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Again, probably witchy, and I know it has like fall vibes. White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. This again is a young adult thriller. The Creeping by Alexandra Sirot. I've heard this one's kind of scary, but we're gonna try it anyway. There's like a girl found in the woods. The Door That Led to Where by Sally Gardner. This has some kind of time travel element, and I think it's set in like Gothic Victorian London. Speaking of Gothic Victorian books, this is Spectacle and Sensational. I really love like Gothic Victorian reads for this time of year. Shadow Cry by Jenna Burtonshaw. I believe this is a fantasy. It looks like it's gonna have darker vibes. It looks amazing. The Scorpio Races. Now this isn't dark or spooky, but I believe it's set in November, so I think it has more fall vibes to it. Young adult and by Maggie Stiefvater. Now Entering Adamsville by Francesca Zappia. How awesome is this cover? This is set in like a ghost town that's rumored to have ghosts, and this girl has grown up there, and now it turns out that there might actually be ghosts there, and things start to unravel. In the Shadow of Blackbirds. Kat Winters always writes kind of historical fiction, spooky reads, all with a really unique premise, usually slightly hard-hitting, but so good. The Steep and Thorny Way. I don't know what these are individually, but I just love her so much. And The Cure for Dreaming. Sing Me Forgotten by Jessica S. Olson. This is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. It's young adult. Phantom's always got a little bit of a darker tone, so I thought it'd be a good one for fall. All right, this shelf is pretty full, so we're gonna head up to the final shelf. That top shelf is too hard for me to reach with my camera, so I'm going to show you the books down here, and then I'll show you what it looks like just hand holding it in a second. Murder Trending and Murder Funding. This has something to do with like a social media game, and it sounds like a really fun murder mystery, like fast paced. They're both by Gretchen McNeil. The Inheritance Games series. I've heard this is a fantastic murder mystery set with like socialites in a cool manner, and I've heard amazing things by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Okay, I completely forgot about some books that I had in one of my back shelves. So more middle grade, The Last Apprentice series. This is like a sorcerer middle grade series that I've heard is absolutely phenomenal. Wildwood and Under Wildwood by Colin Meloy. I've been meaning to start this series for forever. It has the coziest delicious fall covers. Sorcery Cecilia and the Enchanted Chocolate Pot trilogy. This is told through letters. I believe it's also Victorian. I think there's some kind of witch or potion magic in here. It looks so charming. Lake's Edge by Lyndall Clipstone. I actually have read this one, but I don't remember much about it and I want to read the next book, so I'm putting it on this shelf. It definitely has a little tiny bit of a Beauty and the Beast vibe in a gothic mansion, and it has a really good atmosphere. The Best Kind of Magic by Crystal Sistari. A cute young adult trilogy. I know there's like witchy goodness in here. I think I have one more of the books, but I'm not sure where it went. Sauerkraut by Kelly Jones. This is a middle grade book about a young boy that finds the ghost of his grandmother when he starts to learn to make sauerkraut. Super cute. Hocus Pocus, the all-new sequel. I've heard this is really bad and that the first half is just the movie retold, but we're gonna try it anyway because we love Hocus Pocus. The Thickety Well of Witches. This is part of the Thickety series. Again, another kind of woodsy, foresty middle grade series. Harry Moon and the Halloween Nightmare. This is part of a series, but I just liked that it had to do with Halloween, and it looks like Sleepy Hollow as well. Super cute. Liesl and Poe by Lauren Oliver. This is kind of like a ghosty middle grade book. I love Lauren Oliver. Mask of the Red Death by Bethany Griffin. I was gonna read this for a retoldathon, decided to save it for fall. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's poem Mask of the Red Death. The Hawkweed Prophecy and the Hawkweed Legacy by Irina Brignell. This is again a young adult witchy series. A few paperbacks. Here There Be Monsters. Again, kind of monster forest vibes. The Weather Witch by Shannon Delaney, part of a witchy series. I think this one is adult, but I'm not sure. Deadly Affection by Culler Overholt. Again, looks like a gothic Victorian mystery. Darkness Before Dawn and After Daybreak by J.A. London. I think this is either vampires or werewolves, but I'm not sure. What We Devour by Lindsay Miller. Looks spooky. Trial by Fire by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The Raised by Wolf duology. I know I have the first book and I cannot find it. A Perilous Undertaking by Deanna Rayborn, a Veronica Speedwell mystery. I've heard this mystery series has the best like angsty romance. It's adult, but I don't think it's steamy. It's supposed to be very, very like funny and cute. I'm very excited to start it. I think this is the second book. Rosebound by J.J. Marshall. This is by a dear friend of mine. This is the first in her series. I believe there are vampires in here. Vampires Never Get Old, an anthology by Zoraida Cordova. This one looks super good. And then we had Dead Move by John T. Cullen. This is actually a nonfiction based on a ghost story at the Coronado Hotel here in California that I really want to check out. And lastly for right now, What Big Teeth by Rose Zabo. This is a Red Riding Hood retelling. I was almost done with the shelves and then I found quite a few more books in my other office that I wanted to add. So these are going to be kind of out of order and we're just going to kind of cram them in wherever they can fit, but I feel like they kind of fit this category. This is a middle grade Curiosity House, The Shrunken Head by Lauren Oliver and H.C. Chester. The Forest Queen by Betsy Cornwell. This is kind of more of a fall read. My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. We're just putting the first one from this series because I've heard there are ghosts in here, so I figured it would still count. Blood Countess by Elena Popovic. This is a vampire novel, I believe, about Dracula's wives. Blanca and Roja by Anne-Marie McLemore. This is Snow White and Rose Red retelling. Seems to have a little bit of a darker vibe. More retellings. Roseblood by A.G. Howard. A Phantom of the Opera retelling. Curses by Lish McBride. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron. This is a Cinderella retelling, again with a more darker vibe. The Everneath trilogy. I just love these covers. I think this is about demon hunters. I'm not sure, but they look amazing. Enthralled, Paranormal Diversions. This is a young adult paranormal anthology. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I know this is sci-fi. I believe it's got necromancy and kind of a darker atmosphere. I lied. I also put My Plain Jane in here because this is a Jane Eyre retelling, so we definitely have some more like gothic vibes. Ever Wild and Ever Found. I have the first one in this trilogy, but I'm not sure where it went. This is from Neil Shusterman. This is a middle grade trilogy, and this has to do with the afterlife. A couple of classics. We've got The Phantom of the Opera, because I haven't read this one, and then Illustrated Tales from Edgar Allan Poe. Lastly, we've got a few special editions. This is Wild is the Witch by Rachel Griffin. I think this is the Owl Crate edition. Cruel Illusions by Maggie Fuston. This is a Alice in Wonderland retelling, but it's again giving me kind of gothic vibes. Not a special edition, but The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, and If I Have to Be Haunted by Miranda Sun. Alright, this is the final look of my shelves. So I put all my little decor up. I have absolutely no room for the book haul that I'm about to film. So we'll see what I decide to do with that. But we've got some little knickknacks and things here. This one is definitely like more wild and fun than my other bookshelves, but They are filled to the brim, ready for spooky season. A lot of this is honestly just so I can mood read and choose. I will read some things I don't own and some new releases. I'll probably read at least, I want to say 20 of these over spooky season, but we'll see how it goes. So that is how everything looks. We are all done. Okay, you guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video where I showed you a full TBR bookshelf tour. I would love to do a full bookshelf tour of these someday again, but it just takes so long. I don't know if I have it in me right now. Let me know if any of these books are your favorite though, and I will bump them up on my spooky TBR. I've got a lot of other Halloween, fall, festive content coming your way, so stay tuned for that. Anything else I think that you would enjoy, I will link down below in the description. Be sure and follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side.